Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. After a few rough seasons under Clay Helton, USC seems to have found the answer at head coach in Lincoln Riley. In his first year with the Trojans, Riley led USC to an 11-3 record and were just one win away from making the college football playoff before ultimately falling to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game and then the epic collapse to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. So the Trojans certainly have a lot to fix, a lot to work on this offseason, but they still come in at number 12 in our way too early Gridiron Expert Top 25. They returned the Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams at quarterback. They added Mason Cobb at linebacker from Oklahoma State. This is a team that's projected to have 5 starters back on offense, roughly 7 starters back on defense, and a very favorable start to the season could have them in playoff contention midway through October. So welcome back, guys, to the Gridiron Expert. We're so glad that you could join us today as we break down USC's schedule for this upcoming college football season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below because, guys, here at the Gridiron Expert, college football never dies. The season never ends here at the Gridiron Expert. We are talking college football with you 24/7, 365. This is the place to be if you love the game of football, and we want you to become a part of our GE Nation. So let's take a look at USC's schedule. Again, this is a team that was one win away. If they beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, they are in the college football playoff, probably playing Georgia as the 4 seed. Number 1 Georgia, number 4 USC would have been a very interesting battle down in Atlanta, but we missed out on that. Maybe they can get back or get to that point this year. You look at the schedule, guys, the first half is really, really favorable. I mean, literally the first half, 6 games are super favorable. They open the year up against San Jose State, then Nevada, then Stanford, then a bye week. So they don't leave the LA area. They don't have a true road game until September 23rd when they go to Arizona State. So first 3 games are at home. Of course, they're playing in week 0. So they will get 2 bye weeks this year, one on September 16th and then one at the very end of the year on November 25th, which doesn't do them too much good unless, they're getting to advance to the Pac-12 championship game. So you look at this schedule, guys. First 3 games, I think many would project to be a win for USC. They get the bye week going into an Arizona State team that has a new coach in Kenny Dillingham, has some new questions at quarterback, an Arizona State team that may not be having very high expectations in 2023 this year. USC beat them by 17 last year, but they do have to go on the road. So something to monitor there, but I'm sure many will project USC to win. Then they go on the road to Colorado, a team they beat 55-17 last year. Obviously a Colorado team that could be different this year with Deion Sanders now as their head coach, bringing in so many key and impressive transfers to Boulder, but how quickly will they start to mesh together? How quickly can Colorado really contend to get some of the best teams in the conference? That remains to be seen. USC will be favored over the Buffaloes, but the game could be a little bit closer than some would expect. And then they finish up at home against Arizona, a team they only beat by 8 last year, 45-37, got torched defensively against the Wildcats, but luckily for USC, Arizona's defense was just a little bit worse that day, and they did get the win over an improving Wildcats team that could be bowl eligible in 2023. USC, though, does get them at home. So you look at the schedule, the first 6 games, very, very favorable. Most likely, USC is going to be favored in all 6 of those games, and I think for most, anything less than a 6-0 start for USC heading into that road game at Notre Dame would be viewed as a disappointment. It'd be viewed as a shock. I mean, if they were to lose to any of those first 6 opponents, I think that would be a major surprise to a lot of people. So 6-0, most likely the case for USC. We're not here to predict anything yet. USC's prediction will come out in a couple months, but right now it looks good. The back half of the schedule, though, that's where it's brutal. That's where it gets bad. I mean, look at it. They are facing a tough Notre Dame team on the road. They beat Notre Dame in LA 38-27 last year, but Notre Dame now has Sam Hartman at quarterback. They got a healthy quarterback in Sam Hartman. Typically strong defense under Marcus Freeman and South Bend. It's no joke, not an easy place to play. So that's who they open up that key stretch with. Then they take on Utah. Yes, they get to host them at the Coliseum, but they lost to Utah 43-42 in Salt Lake City last year, and then lost to them 47-24 in the Pac-12 championship game. Utah returns Cam Rising. They're going to have a very strong defense again, and the Utes have proven time and time again they're not afraid of LA. They're not afraid of the Coliseum. So that's going to be a tough game there. One that could determine who makes the Pac-12 championship, or could be the first of 2 meetings between the Utes and the Trojans. So Notre Dame's tough. Then Utah. Then California, who probably won't be that big of a challenge. They get a little bit of a rest there. They only beat the Golden Bears by 6 last year, though. And then Washington, Oregon, UCLA. Absolutely brutal. I mean, in the final, really, take out the Notre Dame game because that's a non-conference slate. In the final 1, 2, 3, 4 games, they face arguably 3 of the top 4 teams in the conference. If you want to go back up to 5 with the Utah game, they face 4 of the top teams in the conference. I think for many of us, you look at the Pac-12, you would say USC, Utah, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA are the top 5 teams in the Pac-12 right now. And in a 5-week stretch from October 21st to November 18th, USC has to face 4 of those teams. But those final 3 games, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, is tough. And USC got lucky last year. Year under Lincoln Riley trying to figure things out. They didn't have to play Washington. They didn't have to play Oregon. The only chances, though, they had of playing them would have been in the Pac-12 championship game. And that didn't work. It didn't happen. So they avoided both the Huskies and the Ducks last year. Well, now you look at this game, guys, I mean, Washington had the #1 passing offense in the nation last year, and they returned their star quarterback in Michael Penix. This is an 11-win Washington team. USC does get to host, fortunate for them, but the Huskies, no slouch. Then right after that, they go to Oregon, who also returns their star quarterback in Bo Nix, who I believe they win 10 games last year for the Ducks did in year 1 under Dan Lanning. And you got to go to Eugene. That's not an easy place to play either. And then you close out the year against UCLA, the in-state rivalry, really the inner-city rivalry, battle for LA. USC only won that game 48-45. And yes, we know, UCLA loses Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They lose some key pieces as well, but we expect UCLA to bounce back and still be a contender in the Pac-12 this year. So a brutal, brutal final stretch to the year. Really, those final 6 games. I mean, Notre Dame, Utah, Washington, Oregon, UCLA. California is the only one in there that you could say, maybe not that big of a challenge. It's bad for USC guys. Do they have the talent to win those games? Absolutely. But are they going to get through those final 6 games unscathed? Are they going to get through there unbeaten? Probably not. And again, we're not here to predict anything, but this schedule reminds me very much of Ole Miss's schedule from 2022. If you go back and look at Ole Miss's schedule, the first half of their schedule, super easy. Led to, a 7-0 start? Back half? Brutal. Had to play LSU, had to play Alabama, had to play Arkansas, had to play A&M, had to play Mississippi State. All those were in the back half of the schedule for Ole Miss, and a 7-0 start ended up being a 1-4 finish, and Ole Miss went from a near top 10 team to unranked with their bowl loss to Texas Tech. USC here probably will start the year 6-0, most would expect. You lose a couple games in the final 6. I'm not saying they're going to lose all of them. I'm not going to say they're going to drop from top 10 to unranked, but there is a possibility that they could drop out of the Pac-12 title race if they drop maybe just 2 of those conference games. And luckily they get to host Utah. Luckily they get to host Washington. Luckily they get to host UCLA. So the only true tough road game in the conference slate is at Oregon. But if they drop the Oregon game and the Notre Dame game, they're out of playoff contention. So those final 6 games are the key for Lincoln Riley and the Trojans. Very similar to the 2022 Ole Miss schedule that we just saw. Watch out, guys. The Trojans have the talent. They're hungry to contend for another Pac-12 title. They're hungry to get to the college football playoff. We've seen Lincoln Riley do it time and time again at Oklahoma. Nearly did it in year 1 with the Trojans last year. Can he navigate what will be an absolutely brutal second half of 2023? We'll tell you if he can or not here at the Gridiron Expert here in just a few months with our official USC prediction. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos. Of course, we got game-by-game predictions coming up. Rest of the schedule previews coming up. It's nonstop college football content right here at the channel that you do not want to miss. So make sure to go give it a look. Hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future content going forward. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.